The Jaguars are now 4-3, and we're going to have a conversation today about Trevor Lawrence.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is, in fact, your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast that you can find wherever you're watching or listening right now. Make sure you tap into that location so you do not miss an episode of the show. You can also catch us on Amazon Music, an ad-free version of the show over on Amazon Music. Make sure you go over and check that out. Shows like this one that are sponsored today by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code Locked On NFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Glad to have y'all with me today. Don't take y'all for granted. Appreciate everyone being here. And this is the best place for me to have a half hour, 30 minutes to explain things that don't always get explained correctly when you're posting on social media or in short form. So I want y'all to pay attention to me, and I appreciate y'all being here. All right, we're going to end up talking about coaching and expectations of the Jaguars. In the middle of the show, we're going to talk about the parts around him. Who is him? Him is the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. We're going to park right there and start the show today talking about QB1 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to clear some stuff up real quick. I think Trevor Lawrence is super talented. I think Trevor Lawrence has gotten a bad rap from a lot of people that love to just dunk on Jacksonville anytime that they have a chance to, and it is low-hanging fruit. I have been one of the biggest defenders of fairness when it comes to not only Trevor, but this entire city, coaching staff, guys that have been here before, guys that get fired. So it's not about waffling. It is about progressing and allowing things to work themselves out. See, too many times when we talk about sports, and I'm going to use sports because that's what this is, but you could put this in any other category you want to. Everyone wants to be right, and they want to be right fast. That is not what I'm about. I'm about just giving everybody a fair chance to understand everything. So I don't allow social media to necessarily tell y'all what I'm going to discuss. But for today, I think it's super, super important that we map out the differences in what people think you say as opposed to what you're actually saying. So the responsibility of that is me. It's on me. I'm a professional communicator. I get paid very handsomely by this network to be clear. I want y'all to be clear about this. I am not going to accept dismissiveness, if you will, or people being dismissive of a point that I'm trying to make, and they mask it behind misunderstanding. Because what people tend to do is they'll grasp a hold of any one little thing you say that will allow them to have a little bit of a crack in the door or an avenue or an off-ramp from the main topic because they want to jump back on another highway to get you to start saying and feeling what they do. Case in point, I criticized the handling of Travis Hunter 2 weeks ago and turned loose every Coach Prime and Colorado fan that could. And I was like John Wick standing there with that sword with all of those people charging at him on a horse. Not John Wick, Jon Snow. But my thing is, you get the point. The point is you can't say one thing negative, even if it's true, about someone that a lot of fans are cheering for without them calling you a hater. All right. So we know that and we understand that. And that's not who I do this for. I do this for people that look to have understanding. My comments yesterday about Trevor Lawrence was rooted in this. And I'll tell you what it was. I saw, just like y'all saw, that a whole bunch of stuff wasn't right about yesterday. I saw what y'all saw, that a whole bunch of stuff went bananas the last couple of weeks that we didn't like. From running the football, lack of running the football, being able to run it, 7 sacks, 2 games in a row after only giving up 6 in the first 5 games, offensive line not looking good, blown assignments on defense. I saw it all. I questioned some of the things that Liam Cohen was doing yesterday. All right, no problem. I'll admit that, just like everyone else. But what you guys don't see is this. What you don't see is when they win games and there's euphoria around them winning games. And I'm sitting there in the press box or on road games with other football people or sitting there talking to coaches that I know, folks that I know. Some of them have played pro ball. Some of them are coaching in college. Some of them on a scouting side. And I'm constantly having this same discussion. What's wrong with him? And I'm constantly standing there boxing, man. I'm like, nah, it ain't that. We need to fix this. We need to fix this. We need to fix that. To the point where if you go back to look at anything that I said about Trevor Lawrence when they changed regimes, I said this. They need to insulate him and turn him into Jared Goff. I promise you I'm on record as saying that. And what that was me lowering my expectations because no matter how we felt about Trevor when he came out in the draft, no matter how we felt, how did he get here at the beginning of 2025 from the kid that was drafted in 2021? How did we get here? The prince that was promised and all of that. They didn't insulate him. They tried to just give him the ball and move out of the way. And I'm going to address that part of it too, because I said that. I said you have to, when you have a super talented player, just like when you have a lot of money, that's when you need a financial advisor. You need a financial advisor when you're broke. You need one when you get rich. I felt the Jaguars got rich when they drafted Trevor Lawrence, and I thought they needed more care in their organization for that prized possession. The one thing that I have harped on for years was offensive line and legitimate weapons at wide receiver. Y'all know that if you listen to this show every day. So then you say, how could you flip Wig? How could you now want to blame everything on him and not all of the drops? And now not all of the people running for their life. And now not the coach calling plays that you don't like. I'll tell you how. It's because when it comes to Trevor Lawrence, a lot of y'all think that he is perfect and he is Josh Allen and he needs to be in that category. And don't worry, Chargers fans feel the same way about Justin Herbert, and I keep telling them that's not true. So I get it. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. He ain't that. And I'm perfectly fine with it. Y'all realize he's not that. You know why I know you realize it? Because every time you tweet me and say what somebody else needs to do around him in order for him to just look decent, you prove my point. You prove my point. He needs this. He needs that. What quarterback can do this? What quarterback can do it? Josh Allen just won an MVP, and I don't even think he deserved it. But everybody says he don't have a number one receiver and that the Buffalo Bills need to be taken to court for the malpractice that they do of not surrounding him with enough receivers and legitimate players on offense, and he has to do it all by himself. We just talked about people thinking that they're booing the Chiefs and saying the Chiefs need to change their front office because basically Rashee Rice was being an idiot off the field and wasn't hurt. And every time the Chiefs start looking just a little bit off, everyone wants to blame everything on everybody except maybe some of the people that are out there playing. I know what it's like when these teams have Superman. You know why? Because teams that have Superman have played against the Jaguars, and I have seen what they have done. And I'm like, ain't no way we should have lost to that. I've had to leave the stadium just shrugging my shoulders saying, they got that guy. That's who that guy is. Lamar Jackson is another one, and he gets beat up all the time. Lamar's won 2 MVPs. Do y'all realize people keep saying he still has never had a number one receiver? Come on, man. All of these quarterbacks that have done all of these great things have been doing them despite things that they don't have. So I said he needs to be Jared Goff. He needs a whole bunch of stuff around him in order for him to be successful. Did he get that way because they screwed him up with a bad organization when he came out of college? Maybe. Perhaps maybe that's what he was at Clemson when everybody who had any knowledge of offenses and how they're run in college will tell you that Clemson's offense did not prepare him properly for the NFL. People said it, folks got angry. All I'm saying is every time somebody says something about Trevor Lawrence, here come the people that think he is that great saying what you need to give him, not understanding that if he doesn't have it and he doesn't play great, you prove my point. We're going to get into this more, and I'm going to be specific and talk about the parts around him and the thing that really bothers me. Yesterday, I was looking for something. So I looked to the $55 million man and I said, man, just do something. You're the dude. You're that guy. Do something. And he didn't do it. That's why I said We got to stop expecting him to do that because he can't do it. And there's nothing wrong with that because I am tired. You don't know how many times I've had visiting former players in the press box, other people that we talk to that leave. We even gave it a nickname. We called it the Trevor Lawrence Experience. For you to get that, that means you are inconsistent. Sometimes you win being inconsistent. I'm going to talk about all of that stuff a little bit more in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, and here's the truth, SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS, that's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the united platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnfl. It's serious, man. And it's simple to use. It gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything they touch. It's Rippling. Learn more at rippling.com/lockedonnfl. That's rippling.com/lockedonnfl for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. And today's show is also sponsored by Prize Picks. That's what this episode is about. Prize Picks, man. You want to win you some money, you need to go to Prize Picks, man, because all you got to do, it is so much fun. It's a simple way to add more excitement to football. Just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley's rushing for a touchdown. And guess what? That means that you can get paid all in the game that you play and love and watch. And you can, even if your team doesn't win like mine ain't winning, you can get paid. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, moving and grooving here on Locked On Jaguars. I think I said Locked On NFL. It is Locked On Jaguars. I want Locked On NFL, but it is absolutely Locked On Jaguars. Here, we're talking about Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor's talented. I think he's inconsistent. We call it the experience for a reason. Consistency is a talent and a skill. It's one that great players need. It's one that Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, maybe outside of the Trent Dilfers of the world, they need that. They need to be consistent. They need to be something that you know you can count on. So when everybody else is fumbling the ball and when everybody else is missing dunks wide open, when everyone else is letting their man blow by him, when everyone else isn't doing anything, the one thing that you do expect, I don't expect Trevor to be great if the offensive line has him running for his life or they get behind because somebody jumps off sides. I do expect him to be consistent enough to make his free throws and his layups. Just because everyone around you is doing it doesn't mean that you start doing the same thing. In fact, this should work the other way around. When you're the quarterback, you're supposed to elevate your team. You're supposed to be the guy that's the leader of the team that is elevated. And I'm sorry for the people that believe, well, he's not the biggest problem right now. He's not as bad as Dewey or Brian Thomas Jr. or the pass rush or the interior run defense or the offensive line. Granted, he's probably a better quarterback or playing quarterback better than all of those people are playing their respective positions. However, here's the thing. You got some bad kids, guess what? You go home, maybe their mom and their dad, they ain't as bad as terrible as those kids, right? But their bad matters more because everybody depends on them to be good and to lead. You see my point now? His quarterback, you get more credit when your team wins than you probably deserve. Case in point, all everybody mentioned to me yesterday was how he came back from a 27-0 deficit. Do you realize what happened? They were down 27-0 and they won 31-30. That means after being down 27-0, their defense couldn't allow more than 3 points the rest of the way in order for them to win. But all I hear is how Trevor put the team on his back. Oh, by the way, forgetting that he threw 4 interceptions in the first half that caused them to be behind in the first place. You see how we do that? We give the quarterback all of the credit. This is why they make all of the money, because they're not allowed to make the same mistake as a dude that's a number 1 receiver. And now you got to realize you need another one. He's easily replaced. You can't replace a quarterback contractually, just fundamentally starting over. It's hard. It sets a franchise back. So guess what? For all y'all telling me that Trevor is down the list of problems, what I am telling you is this ain't about them losing the game yesterday. This is about 4.5 years of me standing there, okay, making excuses. I'm not pointing out problems. I'm looking for solutions. The dude making $55 million a year can't also miss free throws and layups like the dudes that aren't. And I don't know if you can't understand that. How are you going to understand it if I can't explain it any more better than that? But you know what I mean. What I'm telling you is having someone at quarterback, it is almost required for you to have someone at quarterback that if he's not great, at least he's consistent. The only thing consistent about Trevor Lawrence is that you know he's going to be inconsistent. That is the point. It's not about whether it was his fault that they lost, but it damn sure is about the fact that he wasn't the reason that they didn't lose. And this is what I keep trying to tell people. I am just at the point where everything has to be perfect. He hasn't played perfectly this year. He hasn't even played statistically what you would consider great this season. But guess what? They were 4-1 at one point because they led the league in turnovers. And while they were 4-1, we were still calling it the Trevor Lawrence Experience for a reason. Come on, man. Get out your feelings. Can you win with a dude with his talent? Hell yeah, you can win with a dude with his talent. Can you win with a dude that goes up and down like a roller coaster in northern Ohio somewhere? No, you can't. So we're waiting for him to improve his consistency. Regardless if he has to run from people every night. I'm not talking about those plays. I'm talking about that throw that he sails over somebody's head on 3rd and 6 when the dude is wide open. I'm talking about the one he throws behind the guy and the guy has to reach and put his hand up that could have let them keep going. And granted, that doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes those passes that he throws are drops, and we ain't letting those people off the hook either. We're not saying that those people don't need to be better. We're not saying that Dewey Wingard got to know that tight end is going to run the same route they ran last week. I'm not talking about some safety that you can replace with a 3rd-round draft pick. As a matter of fact, they drafted a kid that they probably thought was going to take the free safety position, and he got hurt this year in the 3rd round. What I'm talking about is it is hard to find a quarterback that's even as good as Trevor. The difference is we're talking about a guy who makes $55 million like this. I said it yesterday. If he needs y'all defending him so much, he ain't the dude you think he is. Because even when things are bad, and I know Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase, but last year he only had Jamar Chase. He was playing behind a bad offensive line with somebody that you could absolutely double because T. Higgins had a hamstring problem all year. And what did he do? He probably should have been the MVP of the league. See, that's the difference. Even in winning or losing, I can look at Trevor Lawrence and tell that something isn't the way everybody thought it was going to be. The only difference between me and a lot of people is I can admit it. Now, my defending him usually comes from me trashing former players because nobody is saying the real part out loud. Folks are just looking at his money and saying that he sucks. I'm not saying that. In fact, I'll say it again for the 3rd time. He is extremely talented. There are times when he does things that only a handful of people can do, but there are too many times that he does things that bad quarterbacks do. And I'm going to say it on here, whether you like it or not. I'm not being mad or being mean, man. I'm just saying we got to get out of this one-track mind of thinking. Wig, what's your favorite condiment? Mayo. Oh, so you don't like mustard and ketchup. I didn't say that. And that's what we have too much of. And I have to make sure that I understand this. And this is one of my things, man. And I'll tell you, anybody that knows me knows this. it does get a little frustrating when you're trying to explain something and someone thinks that you're saying something that you're not. And I realize it's the way information is consumed. Social media has taught people how to be that way. And so my struggle sometimes is to have nuanced conversations and to be able to explain myself, because I'm not here to change your mind. I still want to be understood. I just get upset when folks allow pre-existing thoughts and their understanding of a situation to cloud what you're trying to say and just totally dismiss it and think that you're saying something else. And that's not what I'm doing when it comes to Trevor Lawrence. They could do a lot worse at quarterback, because they could have a guy that can't bring you back from 27-0 because he doesn't have the talent to do it. My charge is just for us to get to a point where he's not standing up there talking about things that he needs to clean up. I'm going to tell y'all a little secret too. When you hear these announcers, especially the dudes that are Hall of Famers, quarterbacks, whether it's Troy Aikman or whether it's Kurt Warner, and I hear and see every week when people talk about he doesn't know what he's talking about, screw him and blah, blah, blah. What makes you more qualified to talk about the position that they played from their perspective than they are? You're not. Relax. You're not. Week after week after week, year after year, we standing there with people that cover this thing from a media perspective, and what's wrong? What's wrong? And they're asking, and they leave saying, I kind of put my finger on it. He looks like he's good, but what's going on? What's happening? Those are real conversations, whether y'all want to have them or not. I'll tell you where they get a lot of the information too. And this might hurt your feelings, but I'll do it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Mazda, man, because Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride. From footwork, breath work, athletes, they all sweat like we did when we were doing tour days. We sweat all the details, but Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make every drive feel like anything but a routine drive, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. And today's show is sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Better make you some money if your team ain't winning. You can still do that, by the way. The NFL season is in full swing after 7 weeks, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get yourself started. Finishing up this conversation we're having about Trevor Lawrence. I don't know where it got to the point where someone says to me that out of all the things to talk about, that's not the thing to talk about. Well, let me tell you why I did that. I'm going to pull my glasses off for this one. Because over the years, when we said it was Dave Caldwell or we said it was Doug Marrone, and they changed, and they brought in Trent Dilfer and Urban Meyer, and then it was all Urban's fault, and then they changed, and then they brought in Doug Peterson, had a little success, and then when it started falling off, it was Doug Peterson and Press Taylor's fault. And I said, no, they need to clean everything up. Then it was quote unquote Press Taylor. And how many times I told y'all to just stop talking about Press Taylor as if that gets fixed. And before him, it was Luke Fortner. Remember? We just need to draft. People say draft the first 5 picks. Jackson Powers, Johnson, they named every center in the draft because they said that's what we need. And then it was we only need a receiver, right? Okay. So then when they cleaned house, so now everybody wants to point to Brian Thomas Jr., the pass rush. It's one thing at a time. And I keep telling people it's not one thing at a time. But Lord, if you happen to mention and say, well, Travis needs to do this better too. And what I was saying about Travis was I think he can be a great corner and I think he can be a great receiver. I just don't know if he can do both. And the results weren't looking like that they handled this properly in trying to onboard him to the National Football League. They admitted that they didn't know what it was going to look like and they were going to try. So all the people that got mad at me about that didn't realize the Jaguars, they blamed the Jaguars for how they were using Travis, and all they were trying to do was keep a promise fulfilled to the kid and do something that no one has ever done. And when people say, well, Coach Prime did it, yeah, he did it in the Big 12 in college. How many times have y'all seen guys come to the NFL and actually have to adjust to how good everybody is before and that's even exacerbated now, and that's enhanced because now he ain't even focused on one thing. And everybody's going to have a bullseye out front him. But everybody took that and ran with it. And so yesterday, everybody did the same thing about Trevor Lawrence. There is nothing. You cannot tell me in one breath that he needs to be a game manager and still hold on to the fact that he's as good as you thought he was going to be. Because nobody drafted him number 1 overall and made him a poster child for this franchise for him to come here and turn into Jared damn Goff or be a game manager. So even right there, you got to tell me that you got to at least start right there and admit, okay, this ain't like I thought it was going to be. Now we can blame whoever. We can blame all of the coaches. We can blame Dabo. We can blame whoever for it. I ain't talking about blaming because that's trying to point out a problem. I'm saying, what do we do now from this point forward? And what I did yesterday at 9:30 in the morning when I saw that the kicker couldn't kick, that the punter couldn't punt, that the line couldn't block, you know what I said? This is going to be hard, but they need number 16 to do it for him. He needs to get them going. Forgive me for turning and saying the quarterback, the highest paid player on the team, the best player on the team needs to do something to ignite this team. And it's going to be hard because ain't none of them playing well. And then he starts missing layups. And Kurt Warner, the Hall of Famer, says, it's just the easy stuff, man. You got to take that. You got to read that hot corner coming off. You got to know he's coming pre-snap. I gave Trevor credit for changing the play pre-snap against the Texans, and he hit Brian Thomas Jr., who hadn't caught a thing up to that point, on a slant to put him in field goal position to go win the game. I gave him credit for it. It's okay that if I don't give him credit because things are going bad and him reverting to muscle memory bad habits of reversing out and going left, taking your eyes off of the defense. I ain't got no problem with him going left. Take a couple of steps back and go that way and keep your eyes downfield, or run the other way, run away from the guy and throw the ball out of bounds. I'm just saying it's okay to point out things that they do wrong. Coaching and expectations. When these guys come in town to do these games and these broadcast games, you do know they meet with the coaches. A lot of the opinion that they express, you will never hear the coach get up in front of a microphone and say those things about their own players because it's counterintuitive. But there's this unwritten rule of professionalism that whatever they say in that room stays in that room, just like Las Vegas. And you cannot tell me that when these coaches talk about Trevor and these folks ask the same questions that they ask local media guys about his performance, that there's not a little bit of, well, he has to do this and he has to do that. And what we're trying to do is get this. And if he plays this way, then so those are the things that you say about someone that is inconsistent. Those are the things when you hear a coach mention stuff like ball placement, he's not just saying that by himself. He's saying that with all the other things that have to happen. When you see a coach on the sideline demonstratively saying, put it in his chest, put it in his chest. That's not something that he's just saying just because it's the heat of the moment. It's something that is bothering him that he notices that happens repeatedly over and over. And in the middle of this game, I'm going to tell you to do it. We have to get out of this babysitting these dudes, man, with this rhetoric and thinking that just because we think they're good, that's exactly what they are. We got to call it like it is. And that's what I've been trying to do here every day. If for anybody that thinks that I have some sort of agenda against the dude that I have been talking about and trying to fight off people about, like John freaking Snow, I'm going to tell you, I ain't got no agenda. In fact, the only thing I got is to tell you that I just turned to him and looked to him and said, come on, dude, pull it off. And he doesn't. I go into these games every single week in that press box or wherever I am, and I'm saying, come on, Trevor, give us something. And then he'll make throws that only a handful of guys that can make, and then he'll do things that cause you to say, The Trevor Lawrence Experience. Where do you think that comes from? Consistency is a skill and a talent. In order for this team to ever get to where they're going to go, yeah, they got a lot of things to fix and a lot of things to clean up. But he has to be consistent and not consistent at being inconsistent. What is wrong with saying that? Absolutely nothing. And that's why I'm going to keep being true to myself, and I'm going to keep saying it. And just because some people can't comprehend it, well, that's just on them. But just because you say one thing negative, this ain't politics, it's sports. It doesn't mean that the dude, and I'll say it for now the 5th time, Trevor Lawrence has talent that a whole bunch of people don't have. I can say the same thing about Jameis Winston, who's a backup or a 3rd-string quarterback now. You got to get rid of and root out the one thing that's holding you back, regardless of the things that are going on around you, because that's what you get $55 million for. And if you don't understand that, you probably never will, and I'm sorry. But I'm going to keep saying what I'm saying. I'm going to keep telling you what my eyes see, and I'm going to keep telling you what my brain is processing. You can give me the nastiest tweet you want to. I don't care. It's not going to change me from telling you exactly how I feel. He has to be better. They know it. He knows it. The coaches know it. Everybody knows it. But you got to do it, and you got to do it consistently. Unfortunately, what you want and desire as fans doesn't necessarily have to manifest itself on the field, and it doesn't help him one bit. He's going to have to do it himself. He has to do it. Check me out on Locked On NFL twice. I'm on twice on Locked On NFL, on Locked On Jaguars and Locked On NFL. The Locked On NFL podcast comes on twice. Tyler Rowland in the morning and me in the afternoon. Make sure you check it out. I do appreciate y'all. I ain't telling nobody to not give me your opinion. All I'm saying, man, is make sure you understand exactly what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. You can disagree with it all you want. Does not matter. Does not change anything. He's inconsistent. The Trevor Lawrence Experience, in and of itself, the fact that that is a thing is the thing. Y'all take care. We'll see you next time on Locked On Jaguars.